Well, first of all, I really think that this case was incredibly weak. And, Alvin Bragg knew it was weak, knew it was based on one witness who was a convicted perjurer. But what we found out yesterday was that he was making up stories on the stand on direct examination. Specifically, he said that he had called Keith Schilling, who was President Trump's security guy, and that he was then put on the phone with Donald Trump, and he outlined the plan for Stormy Daniels to be paid. That did not happen. And he admitted essentially that when confronted with the text messages saying he was calling to talk about this 14-year-old person harassing him, that was the contents, and there was not enough time to discuss that in the limited, 90 seconds of this phone call to then talk to Donald Trump about the specifics of any deal. And so the whole case yesterday fell apart. And really, now we're at a point where not only does the jury have to believe Michael Cohen and on the evidence that only he says exists, but now he has admitted to making up some of the story. I think it was a devastating day, and I don't know if the judge is going to let this go to the jury ultimately. He may just direct the verdict at the close of the government's case in chief.
That's an interesting thought. I want to stay on that because now, Trump's attorneys have a chance to decide what they want to do, if they even want to put on a case. I know there'll probably be some redirect by the prosecution. You have that much faith in Juan Merchan, who's so conflicted, whose daughter's raising, $93 million for Democrats. You think he would actually go to a directed verdict, which, if you will, basically, it's a way of a mistrial. It's saying this is over, right?
Yeah. Simply put, no, I don't have any faith in Judge Merchan, because of what you point out. His daughter has made millions off of this trial. He is conflicted. He should have recused himself as a Biden donor. Obviously, there were a lot of reasons that he should have not been on this case. But even somebody that conflicted needs to see the evidence does not support the charges that are alleged. And so, I think he should issue a direct verdict. I don't think he will, but at the same time, the jury certainly is never going to convict on this set of facts.
Well, let's see. It's fascinating to watch. And I also want to get your reaction to what we saw yesterday, the GOP advancing, the Judiciary Subcommittee, these articles of holding Attorney General Merrick Garland in contempt. And it's all centered on his refusal to release the audio of Special Counsel Robert Hur sitting down with President Biden. They're going to go forward anyway. But yesterday, Biden, who, talked tough at the beginning of the week, make my day, I'm going to go on a debate stage, tries to exert executive privilege, saying these can't be released. I'm pretty sure there's certain criteria where executive privilege can be used, and none of it applies to this Hur audio. Walk us through this.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Merrick Garland certainly should have released these tapes. Obviously, they've released a transcript. They know that this hearing, the President Biden, in his own words, talk about the classified documents will undermine sort of their entire, not only their case, but also it will be a terrible, terrible sound of him stumbling and bumbling. And they want to keep it away from that. But there is no legal right to executive privilege in this particular instance. These are, investigative documents. The investigation was closed, and therefore Congress certainly has a legitimate oversight to see and listen to this interview.
But again, just like Juan Merchan, should be doing this, just like Merrick Garland should be doing this. They're the ultimate. They have all the power. They hold all the cards. Garland won't allow it. Juan Merchan won't allow it, and that's sort of where we come to this, stopping ground. And that's frustrating to Americans in our final 30 seconds because they can clearly see it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a two-tiered system of justice, and Congress can obviously go to the courts to prove this executive privilege is ridiculous claim and litigate this. Obviously, that would take time, but there's been many examples of similar situations where Congress has gone to court and exerted their right of oversight and their right to subpoena and get documents and information from the executive branch. I think this will be a similar case, and that will happen.